maybe somebody has a question or something that you want to ask before we. You have yes, King, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, Doc.
Good
The
evening.
last time I wasn't in the meeting, but I took my time to go through the YouTube video, and
Okay.
I had two concerns that I wanted you to help me address. I think
Okay.
you spoke about the spoke about research theory. Um,
Yeah.
yes, I wanted to find out how um you'll be able to combine two theories if both theories relate to your work. How do you combine both and then draw a theoretical framework out of those two theories? Because what we said earlier meant that the theory that you are going to be using in your work, if the theory exists already, then you have to bring in the
Mm.
theoretical framework from the existing work. But in the situation where you are drawing on two theories, how do you combine
Mm.
both to have a theoretical framework that suits your work? And the
Your
second
work.
one was about the research philosophy. You said
Okay.
it was very important that we introduce the research philosophies and all that. I've done that in my PhD work. But when
Yeah.
I sent it to my professor during the review, he said that mostly research philosophies apply to social sciences and not to.
Really?
Yes, yes, that's what he said. And so he actually confused me. And when I saw that you also mentioned it in the video, I was kind of confused. So I wanted a clarity on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh, okay. Thank you. Let me start with the research philosophy part. So, research philosophy is it's not about whether your work is a social science or medical science or anything. I get him. I may get him, or I get him from where he's coming from, because research philosophy is in many areas of study of research. Many people don't state that. Even in the medical science, social science, engineering, business, and other people don't even concentrate on anything called research philosophy. They just go ahead by presenting the source of data, the type of data, data, the sample size, population, data analysis method, and that's it. That is what the standard thing that many people know. But anybody who is good in research, the person will draw you back to the philosophical position that a person holds. Okay. And I also understand him that in many cases it's not compulsory that you have to present that. And many studies don't present that. So I get where he's coming from. I get him. He's right and he's not wrong. But you just go by what he like or what he wants.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah, because he's the supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you take many studies and you think you can do this check yourself, you can take many studies. Many studies don't present any philosophical position. They just go straight to the point
Yeah,
by
so I
presenting.
decided, sorry, I decided to write on it because when I was taking a course in research methods, the
Mhm.
lecturer actually spoke about research philosophy. And he said that when you have
Exactly.
finally done your work, you'll be asked the philosophy that your work is based on. So that's what made me
Exactly.
research into it and present it in my work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's you did the right thing, or you are doing the right thing. But once again, it comes down to the person that you are dealing with, not to have any conflict with the person and not to have issues with the person. Just go by what the person like, because that's one thing about research too. Research is all about styles, because my style may be different from another person's style. My way of supervision may be different from another person's supervision. There are certain things that I want people to do that another person would not like the other person to do. For example, if you remember, those of you who were here the other time, I even mentioned that when I am your supervisor, I would like you to start from methodology
Okay.
and then do data analysis before you even come back to come and write introduction and literature review. But some people, that's not what That's not how they want you to go about your work. They want you to start from the topic, introduction, literature review, you come to methodology, and then so it's all about style. So if the person is not happy with that, but it doesn't mean you are wrong. In fact, you are doing the right thing. You are doing the right thing, but it's about your supervisor. It's your supervisor's preference. So you just go by what the supervisor is happy with, so that you have peace with him. But you are not doing the wrong thing, you are doing the right thing, because research philosophy is an important part, because it's out of research philosophy that will even inform the researcher the type of research design, the type of that data that you have to go for, and then the type of data analysis method that you have to go for, because it's a philosophy that determines all these things. They form the foundation. But many people, they don't know this. And you can see that many people don't know this by looking at people's studies. If you look at it, people don't present this. In many areas of research, this thing is not compulsory. Yeah, people just go ahead, present their work, and then that's it. So please, King, just have peace with your professor.
All right, Doc.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Then the next thing is, your question is about, can you combine theories? Yes, you can combine not only two theories. In fact, you can combine many theories together.
So please, are you sharing your screen?
No, I'll share, but not now. Let me
Okay.
explain. Yeah, let me finish explaining this thing. Screen. So, King, you can combine many theories, many, not only two, not only three, and in fact, you can combine many. In the case of combining many theories, what you have to do is that you will still arrive at theoretical framework, not conceptual framework. Yeah, so in that case, you have to help us to know the construct. Theories are all about construct. When we say construct, construct is just like having a tree and you having branches, right? A tree has branches. So when you take one theory, it has construct. And to put this in simple terms, it's just like having a tree, normal tree that we know, like mango tree, coconut tree, any tree, and they have branches. So theories also have branches. So if you decide to combine many of them, then you have to let us know where you took each branch, each variable, each construct, and you have combined them. Okay, so when you combine, you have to draw a new theoretical framework or a new diagram to represent that. So for example, if I'm dealing with, I'm just going to mention two theories or three theories. If I'm dealing with theory of planned behavior, technology acceptance, cognitive theory, and if I want to combine these three theories, then I'll pick constructs. I'll pick variable. The word construct is the same as variables. I'll pick construct of variables from each of these theories and combine them together. Then I will use them to draw a new diagram, a new theoretical framework. And that the new theoretical framework will guide my work. But when I present my work, I have to explain that I drew this diagram from the three theories. I drew this diagram from so and so number of theories. I hope you get it. So it is allowed. You,
Okay.
you can combine as many as you want to. It can be 15, 20s, whatever. As many as you are okay with, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the reason why I mentioned that when your study is about one theory, you have to focus on one. Is that in many cases, when people choose one theory, or in many studies, when one theory is selected, most researchers focus just on that. They don't bring in other theories. In many cases, they just focus. So if they take, once again, the theory of plant behavior, they just focus on the theory of plant behavior. And even focusing on that, about 2 or 3 things happen. One of them is that, one, they can take the theory of plant behavior exactly as it is, like as people have presented in the past. Or they can take the theory of plant behavior and introduce their own construct, modify it and add something new. With the same theory, they will not bring any other theory to it, or they will not add any other theory. They'll just take the theory of plant behavior and modify it by adding additional variables or constructs. Or another thing is that they can take the theory of plant behavior and remove some of the constructs. So let's say if the theory of plant behavior has 6 constructs, they will remove 2 of them, and then they will go with the remaining 4. Yeah, that's what many studies, that's what they do, many of them. So if you check, I'm going to show you this now. Let me share. Now is a good time to share the screen. So if you check most studies in the past, you can see that even the theory of plant behavior, you can see so many modifications. So just look at this carefully. You can see these diagrams. Like you take this one, they are all the same. Like they are the same theory of plant behavior. They are all the same theory of plant behavior. But you can see some modifications. Some things have been added. Like if you take this one, for example, yeah, you can see that it has been expanded. But it's the same theory of plant behavior that has been expanded. This is what many studies do. They take the same theory, they either expand it or they remove part of the construct, and then they use them in their studies. So that's what people do. Yeah. So this is where you focus on one, but you can also combine many, and then you draw a new theoretical. So the best example is, I think my study, I have a paper on theoretical framework. So Ken, when you get time, please read it. It's a purely theoretical framework paper. That theoretical framework paper,
Okay.
I combined theories and I constructed a new model. Yeah, I constructed a new model. It's a purely theoretical framework paper.
Okay.
There were theories I took from different theories. So when you pick that model and then you read the descriptions, you understand what I'm talking about. So it was a theoretical framework because after drawing constructs from different theories, I drew that diagram. Yeah, so I mean, when you get time, because I will not be able to go through this with you for the sake of time. So this is the paper. Yes, this paper is a purely theoretical framework paper. This paper is not empirical, has nothing like empirical study, it's not a literature review, it's purely theoretical framework. And then you understand the measurement constructs and all that. I think I mean, it would be great if I share this paper on the page for everyone. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll just download it and share it on the page. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I hope I have been able to answer your questions.
Yes, Doc. One last thing. So in my
Okay.
PhD research, I'm drawing on three theories: adaptive governance theory, social vulnerability theory, and then race governance theory. I've
Okay.
explained all the theories and then I've integrated them and also presented something on it. Is it mandatory I
Great.
present a theoretical framework? Or I can just leave the explanation like that?
The diagram.
Yeah, the
You mean
diagram.
the diagram?
Yes.
I've seen situations where people don't present diagrams, and but once again, you need to be very careful about all these things I'm explaining to you. If you are not going to use the theories later on in your analysis, then I would suggest that you don't worry yourself by
Thank you.
drawing a diagram. What is the meaning of this? Let me explain it to you. Many studies, if you take many articles, you see that there's a section where in the literature review they will present what we call the theoretical framework or the review of theories. They just present a brief overview of the theories, and that's it. When you go down to the methodology and to the data analysis, you see that they have not applied, they have not used the theories that they reviewed in the analysis and then the methodology. It's allowed. Many studies do that. Many papers, you can see that it's allowed, right? It's allowed a brief something without a diagram. There's a brief, this is theoretical framework, brief one. That's okay. But in a situation where you are going to use the theoretical framework or the theories that you have reviewed, then it will be, to me, I suggest that it will be great you have a diagram. Not only diagram, you have to also, you must have what we called a measurement item, measurement of the construct in your theoretical framework. Because you are going to use it later on. But normally your theoretical framework, and to a larger extent, the word conceptual framework I explained the other day, they will form the foundation of your data analysis. Because it's out of the theoretical framework, conceptual framework that you get the key variables that you are going to test in your work. That's the reason why I keep on saying that if you are not going to use it or if you are going to use it. So if you are not going to use them, but it's just a matter of that you just want to present something about maybe the important theories that you think can explain some of the things there, that's fine. You can do that and leave the thing there and continue with whatever approach that you want to use later for your analysis. But if you are going to use the theoretical framework for your analysis, then I will suggest that you need to come up with measurement items. 1, 2, you need to show a diagram. And then 3, you have to apply the theoretical framework when you get to the methodology and then the data analysis. Time will not permit me. Other than that, I can show you my PhD thesis as what I'm talking about, because that's exactly what I did. So those of you who have been able to read because my PhD thesis is online, right? My PhD thesis is online, so it's easy to get my PhD thesis. Yeah, it's here. So those of you who want to read, when you read my PhD thesis, you understand what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I did. I have a whole theoretical framework chapter, a whole chapter for theoretical framework. And out of that, I have, out of the theoretical framework, I have the theoretical framework model. And I didn't leave the model there. I actually used the model for my analysis. So this is my theoretical framework model. It's out of this that I wrote the paper, because every chapter in my thesis, I wrote a paper out of my chapter. So I wrote a paper article. I've published a paper on each chapter of my thesis. So, like if you take the chapter, this is I think about chapter 4 or chapter 5. I mean, when you get time, you read it, especially King. Someone like you who is putting together your PhD. Going to be great to do that. So when you take the chapter 3, which is on the theoretical framework, and you compare the chapter 3 to the chapter, I think 4 or 5, the methodology, and then the data analysis, which is in chapter 7 and chapter 8, the results, which is the PLSM, you can see that I base my analysis. So this is chapter 3. You can see that I base my analysis on the theoretical framework. And in this case, I use the theoretical framework for I didn't just review theories and I left it there, but rather after I developed the theoretical framework, I mean, you can see the same. Let me show you something. So you can see this, right?
Yeah.
This is the theoretical framework. When you go down to the analysis section, you can see that that's exactly, so this is the thing. So like, this is what I use. The same thing that you saw is what I use for my analysis. It's out of that I did the PLSM. So in this case, I can confidently say I use my theoretical framework for my methodology and for my analysis. But there are situations, as I said, where people, and I know people do this a lot, people just review. They just review the theories, and that's the end of it. That's also acceptable. Yes, but if you are going to use it for your analysis, whether it's because I also know people do this with regression, whether it's regression, PLSM, or any other method, then you have to develop it further. That's what I would suggest you have to do.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay, thank you. Any other question from any other person before we move on? Are we all good? Okay, so let's go through this quickly, and then we will be out of here today. Okay. What's going on? Just a minute. Is there anyone who has a question? No question. Sorry, oh my distance freezing. I'm not going to you. Open it here. Sorry, just a minute. Let me open it online. Yes. Oh no. This thing. Okay, can you see my screen? Oh, you can't. I think it's just you can't, right?
No, we can't see the screen.
Is that?
No, we can't see. I can't see the screen at my end.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether it's everybody.
Is it? It's okay now.
I still cannot see.
Okay. So is it sharing now? Is it okay?
No,
Yes,
please.
yes, it's sharing. I can see.
Okay, then. Okay, so let's go through it. So last week I started by taking you through the research design. So I mentioned that you need to present a brief information about your research position. It's very important. You need to. So is it positivist or is it what is the research position? It's important that you do that. And then out of the position, you tell us whether you are dealing with quantitative or qualitative study. But as far as our study is concerned, it's going to be purely quantitative, and our research philosophy is going to be a positivist position. Okay, so I'll not take my time to go through this because last week I did that. Now we know that. Now the next thing is we need to talk about the sampling and data collection. Sampling and data collection. So what is the sampling and data collection about? So here you first present the data collection instrument. How are you getting your data? How are you going to get it? What tool are you using to get your data? Two things can happen here. It's possible you have already collected your data, or it's possible that you are taking data from a source where they have already collected and cleaned the data, or the study is purely quantitative. I mean, when I say quantitative in this context, I'm talking about financial data. So you need to help us to know the instrument. But as far as our study is concerned, because many of us have used questionnaire, let me take my time to explain the questionnaire to you. So in this case, you mentioned that your data collection instrument is questionnaire. And I don't think this is the right time for me to take you through questionnaire because we have done this. This is the first thing that we did when we began the process. So questionnaire, you talk about the questionnaire, but in the question, when you are talking about the questionnaire, there are about 2 or 3 things that you need to talk about. One, you need to give a reason why you think a questionnaire is suitable for this study. It's important because some reviewers, they are very, very some way, not some way in a bad way, but they always want you. They want you to always give a reason why you are doing what you are doing. They want you to the word is justification, justified why. So if you present that your data collection instrument is questionnaire, go ahead and write a brief reason. It could be a statement or two as to why you think questionnaire is important. And then the second thing is that you need to explain the content of your questionnaire. Very important. And this is where some people put in their measurement item, and I'll come there. So the content of your questionnaire, have a brief presentation about the content. What is in the questionnaire? So if somebody is reviewing your work and the person has notes, has little time, not enough time, and the person decides to just read that portion, present a case, present something to the person to understand what is in your questionnaire without referring to the actual questionnaire. So you start by talking about what questionnaires normally have introduction, but the introduction is not important. You go to the demographics, the profile of the participant, like you talk about their age, their job position, the number of years of work experience, and so forth. So you present that part. Then you go to the next section. Maybe the next section is about, let's say, nature-based solutions. Or the next section is about electric vehicles. You talk about that. Then so just as you have presented in your questionnaire, so this part, you just go back and go and pick your questionnaire. And then look at the various sections in your questionnaire. So if your questionnaire has a section which has barriers, success factors, and so forth, you have to present all that in there. I hope you get it. So the content is important. You need to present the content of the questionnaire. Now, the next thing with the questionnaire is that normally when questionnaires are developed, it's good that somebody take a look at the questionnaire. And I mean, when I say somebody, not just somebody, but expert. Because you are coming from the academic background or you are in the academia, it is advisable that somebody who is an expert, either the person is in the academia or the person is outside academia, somebody must have a look at it. The proper term for this is what we normally call the pilot study. So some of you have heard the word pilot study, pilot. So during the pilot study, you distribute the questionnaire that you have developed. And then you send it to these experts. These experts will have a look at it. They will make some suggestions. And then once you get the suggestions, the comments, you just modify your work and go ahead and then distribute. Okay, so it's always good that you do that. In many cases, this is called validation. You are validating. It's a form of validation. Yeah, but there's also a quantitative way of also validating your questionnaire. There's something I nearly skipped, but I want to bring it back again. So in the questionnaire, there is something that we call measurement skills. Measurement skills. Measurement skills or measurement items. Great. So when we were looking at the literature review, I presented this thing to you by saying that either you present your measurement scale in the literature review, quote unquote, like the conceptual and theoretical framework section, or you bring it to where you develop the questionnaire in the methodology. So two things, either you leave your measurement scale here, measurement items here, or you can present it in the methodology section. I have seen a number of studies where the researchers, they have presented their measurement skills here. Like in my case, for example, my thesis, I had an entire chapter purposely for this. So with that, there was no need for me to present it again in the methodology section. Okay, so you can do that, or you can send this to the methodology section and add it to the questionnaire development. This goes to say that whatever you do in your literature review, whatever you do with your theoretical framework or conceptual framework, they have impact on your methodology. So I mentioned something, or I told you something from the beginning, that everything that we are doing is not in isolation. That's the reason why I wanted everyone to be part of this, because some people think that maybe they can sit, maybe they just I'll just learn an aspect of the thing. You are not going to get the full picture of the work. Like maybe I'll just attend one class and that's the end. You will not get a full thing. Every aspect of your research is connected. And in fact, if we are going to judge whether your study is good or not, it will be dependent on how you have connected the sections together. So whatever you do in literature review, it has impact in your methodology. So if your literature review is bad, there is a high likelihood, possibility that you're going to have issues in your methodology, and vice versa. Yeah, so whatever you put in your introduction, methodology, literature review, they must all connect. Great. So this thing that you see here as measurement items, if we were to get their questionnaire, we'll see that this same thing which they put in their theoretical framework is the same thing that they put in their questionnaire. That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. Because you can't develop a new questionnaire with different measurement items, and then your theoretical framework, your conceptual framework is also different. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work like that. Rather, the same thing that you put in your theoretical framework, the same thing that you put in your conceptual framework, is the same thing that you have to put in your questionnaire design. So how do you resolve this if you have already developed your questionnaire, like many of you have done? So what you have to do is now you have to work backwards. And I mean, when I say backwards, I mean you need to go back and connect your theoretical framework to your questionnaire. Because in your case, all of your case, you have already developed your questionnaire, you have distributed your questionnaire. So you can't do anything about it. Yeah. That's also one of the reasons why during the questionnaire development stage, I was very keen on getting to know the details of everyone's questionnaire. And I kept on asking some of you questions. Maybe some of you may think I was being too this thing. I kept on asking questions. Because one thing about the questionnaire development is that once you develop a questionnaire and you distribute it, there's no turning back. Some of you, I think by now, you have crossed 50 responses. Imagine maybe at this stage, you want to modify the questionnaire and go back to the 50 people to tell them, oh, I have made a mistake. Can you respond again? The whole thing will look funny to whoever responded to your work, right? So it is always good that you have the right thing. That's also one of the reasons why personally I always think that it is good to have your methodology done properly, like properly developed, including questionnaires, properly developed based on a strong theory or concept or whatever. Developed, distributed, get your data before you continue doing the other part of the work. But once again, the whole thing comes down to style. As some people prefer different styles, so that's okay. Okay, so now you have your questionnaire, you have piloted it. The experts, including academic experts, senior professors, senior lecturers, senior academics, they have passed comments on your questionnaire, the questionnaire that you have developed. They have suggested some section that needs to be modified. You have made changes. Experts from the industry, they have done the same. You have made changes. Now what next? The next thing is now distribution. It's the distribution part that is where the population come in. That's the reason why I always say that the way people sometimes present research, they make the whole thing look difficult. Because research is a step-by-step approach. But sometimes some people present research to make the whole thing look something else. Like you read a study, the population is somewhere, sample size is somewhere. It's step by step. If you do it step by step, it is easier for the reviewer. It's easier for your readers to appreciate what you have done. So this section I recommend that when you are starting, start by talking about your questionnaire, how you developed it, the content. Have you validated it through the pilot study or not? Talk about all that. Once you are done, now distribution. Because if you don't have a questionnaire, you can't distribute. Or if you don't have a questionnaire, you can't reach out to the targeted population. So the next thing is distribution. Distribution, the first point in the distribution process is the population. Who are you targeting? Who are you going to distribute the thing to? And that's what we call the targeted population, or the population. So the population, what is the population in this context? So let me explain. I'm explaining this for those of you who are writing your PhDs, because I know some of you, your supervisors will ask you to explain all these things. The population in research is not the population that we know, no population census, not the one that Ghana, Australia, US, they do, like they count people. It's not population census, but rather population in research means the subject matter. The subject matter, like those people, those institutions, the units of analysis. Yeah, so the subject matter, what the research is concerned about. So for example, if your study is about mosquitoes, the targeted population will be mosquitoes, not necessarily human beings. If your study is about malaria, and maybe you are trying to cure malaria and blah, 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 and then and all that, and the subject matter is mosquitoes, then mosquitoes. If yours is about cars, if yours is about cities, yours is about this. So the subject matter or population is not always human beings. That's what I'm saying. So get this difference, so that maybe when you are asked somewhere, you can explain it. Research population is not about human beings always, but it's about the subject matter. Is that okay? Good. So that's population. Out of the population, we get what we call the sample. Out of population, we get a sample. There are many situations where you can't study all the unit or the subject matter. Many situations. In fact, I would say in more than 50 to 90%, because many subject matter, the content, the units involved, there are many. Like if you are talking about something like mosquitoes, and you tell me the number of mosquitoes in Ghana, it's not possible. If you are talking about, let's say, kangaroos in Australia, is it possible you know all the kangaroos in Australia? No, it's not possible. But rather we can say we have an estimate, and with even the estimate, can you reach out to all the estimate? It's not possible. So you always reach out to some of them, or you take a part of it and study. It's just like even construction work. Nobody can tell me that if you are a supervisor, a building supervisor, and you go and inspect buildings, you can check everything from A to Z. You take an aspect of it and check. The same. It's the same everywhere. In many cases, you can't do everything. You take a part of it and then you check. And when you take part of it and you check, we say you are doing sampling, or you are taking a sample. Okay, you are taking a sample. So how do you take the sample? You take a sample by using one of the sampling techniques. There are methods, there are ways of going about it. There are two categories of sampling methods. We have the probability sampling methods, and then we have non-probability sampling methods. Probability sampling methods normally work well with quantitative studies, and non-probability sampling techniques normally work very well with qualitative studies. But once again, per my experience, there are situations where there are cross carpets. Like when I say cross carpets, like you see some studies where they have picked qualitative, non-probability sampling techniques, and they have applied them. And for example, in this study that we are looking at, they use purposive sampling. Purposive sampling example is non-probability sampling. It's allowed. Convenience sampling. You see other studies, convenience sampling, even snowballing. They are all non-probability, but it's allowed. Why? There are reasons to this. Yeah, there are reasons. So it's allowed. Okay. So yeah. Let me give you general overview of sampling method. We have random sampling, we have stratified sampling, convenience sampling, snowball sampling, purposive sampling. We have what again? Multi-stage. We have cluster. So you need to select one sampling technique that applies to your work, because you can't use all sampling techniques. And you have to justify why you have decided to use that sampling method, why you have chosen that sampling method. This is important. Is that okay? You need to explain that. Now we have our sampling method. So what next? The next thing to do is that you have to go ahead and then talk about the samples. Okay, so depending on the study that you are undertaking, the representativeness of the sample, which we normally call the sample size. So the word sample I've been using here is like in simple terms, the sample size. Depends on the study, depends on your research, whether it is representative or it's not representative. It will depend on your research and your topic. Some research topics will demand that you use fewer sample size is acceptable. Some demand that you use a larger sample size. So you need to determine that. How do you determine that? There are so many ways of going about that. One, you can determine that by comparing previous studies to determine whether your sample size is representative or not. Two, you can also use mathematical methods. There are mathematical statistical methods online that can help you to determine whether your sample size is good enough or not. So let me show you an example. You can use the Cochrane formula. Just an example. It's a sample size calculation method. This formula. And you need to state that in case you use this formula to determine your sample size, you need to present and explain that in your study. It's called Cochrane. Just an example, one of them, but we have many. There are many of them, many methods. Yeah, there are many methods. There are many ways of going about this. So if you use a sample size calculator formula approach, you need to present that. But in my own previous studies, I've done this in my previous studies. I've compared previous studies, the sample size that other studies use to determine whether my sample size is good enough or not. And it's always good to help the reviewers sample size is good enough or not, because some reviewers can just go ahead and reject your paper by saying that your sample size is not good enough. That's the reason why, for example, in this study that we are conducting, or this research, I have mentioned that everyone should try as much as possible to get 200 responses. With the PLSN, the truth of the matter is that you can even use 50, 60, 70 responses to conduct PLSN, and it is still acceptable. But over the years, what I've noticed is that when your sample size is smaller, some reviewers tend to have issues with you. they are right and they are wrong at the same time. They are right in the sense that the larger your sample size, the better your results, or the better you get, you overcome the sample errors or the sampling errors. And they are wrong because it is not every model that demands that you have a large sample size. Like PLSM, for example, people use 87, 85, 78 responses. It's allowed because the PLSM itself, it was developed for smaller sample sizes, the PLS that we are going to use for analysis. Yes, but I have decided that everyone should get 200 so that we will overcome this sample error. And then also having issues with reviewers, where they'll be questioning you, why is it that there are so many people and you decided to sample only, let's say, 80 people. There are so many. Like if you take, let's say, bankers, somebody like Solomon, if you say bankers, and then they'll be asking you, so many bankers in Ghana, why did you decide to sample only 80? It is too small. Why didn't you reach out to more? Some people have issues, and we all know this. If you have been writing papers and you have been getting reviewers' comments, you know what I'm talking about. Some reviewers have issues with that, you know. So the larger the sample size, the better. The larger the sample size, the better. But whether it's better or it's not better, you have to justify it. Yeah, to avoid questions, problems to reviewers and examiners. Okay, good. So we have that. What next? The next thing is that once we have our sample size determined, but now we can distribute. So how do you distribute your survey? So that two approaches currently, I mean, all over the world, like you can do online and then you can do face-to-face. What is online? Online means you put your questionnaire into one of the questionnaire survey distribution platforms or software and generate a link. And that's exactly what we did with the Google Forms. That's what we have done, the Google Forms. So ours is online. We generate a link. And out of that link, or with that link, you share it with the people that you have targeted. Is that okay? So you can do offline, online. Then you can also do offline. Offline is where you print. So I was doing some studies with some students, and they asked me whether they can print their questionnaire and go and distribute. And I said that's a good idea. But nowadays, the only issue I have with the face-to-face distribution of surveys is that if you look at the time involved in printing and going around to give surveys to people, and then you go back to follow up, to me, it's a long process. Emmanuel, are you here? I hope no one is sleeping. We're all listening. Nobody should use this as a sleeping tablet. Sharon and Co, you're all here. Yeah, everybody should pay attention. We'll be closing soon. Less than 30 minutes. So just pay attention. So yeah, so to me, I recommend you, if you are going to distribute survey, to me nowadays, almost like everyone is online. Almost everybody has a mobile phone. So why don't you generate a link and share the link with the participants for them to fill, rather than spending money to print all these surveys and then you go round, you go around to distribute. It's to me it's too much. Yeah, it's not a waste of time. I know that the word is not waste of time, but to me it's too much. Let me put it in in a better context. It's too much. Imagine dealing with thousand participants, and you print questionnaires, and then you go round sharing. Yeah, it's too much. But I also understand why people do that, because some studies it demands that you specifically do that, because some of the people, even some of the people who are going to respond, either they are not on online, they don't have phones, they don't have any emails, they are also not formally educated, and therefore even when they are responding to the survey, you need to provide them some assistance. I understand why people do this, but at the end of the day, it's up to you as to what you want to do. Yeah, that's it. How long are you supposed to distribute your survey? It's up to you. Personally, if I am writing my work, I will not stick the period, because it varies. The reason why I'm saying it varies is that even sometimes when you start analyzing your data, if you have shared a link somewhere, people will still be filling. So personally, if I am writing my methodology section, I will not state the period in which the data was collected. I will not say 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or 1 year or something, because sometimes, like I said, certain study I was dealing with, even as of now, as I'm speaking, almost about 3 or 4 years, people are still filling the survey. So I will not talk about that unless the reviewer specifically asks me a question, or asks, how long did it take for you to distribute your survey? Okay, thank you. So we are done with this part. You get your survey, and that's the responses. When you say we get your survey, that I'm talking about the response. We get your response. What next? What next? Kin, please, I'll let you ask your question. I think you have raised your hand. Let me deal with the analysis part and then come back. And then I'll allow you to ask your question. The last part is the data analysis. And this is where we go back to what I started with you, and that's the PLS. So we are back to the same position that I started with you. So we have gone round. We have come back to the position, the same position. Okay, so with the data analysis part, you need to specifically mention the type of data, and even if you like, the sample size. Two things, you can do it here or you can do it in the previous section, one of them. So for example, in this case, in this context, if you look at this paper, they use 61 respondents. 61 respondents. And 61 respondent is suitable for PLSM. Yes, that's for PLSM. If the sample size is smaller, it's acceptable. 61 responses. So they got data from 61 responses. Right? You can mention this. Then, because this data analysis, you need to specifically mention the data analysis method. Last week and last 2 weeks, and then almost for the past 2 months, I've been training some of my students, and one of the things I've been telling them is that people normally say, I am using SPSS for my data analysis. Like if you ask them, what is your data analysis method? They will say SPSS, or they will say Excel, or they will say Stata. Stata, SPSS, Excel, they are not data analysis methods. They are software. That's what you need to understand. They are software. Within the software, what specifically are you dealing with? What method are you dealing with? Because if you take SPSS, for example, there's so many data analysis methods in there. We have the t-test, we have the factor analysis, we have regression, we have the Kruskal-Wallis, we have the descriptives. So you need to be specific. You need to state. So in this case, not to waste too much time, in our case, which is going to apply to everyone, we are all using partial least square structural equation modeling. So it must be clear. State this. So you need to say that the data analysis method is partial least squares structural equation modeling. Okay, that's the data analysis method. And the partial least square structural equation modeling, the software, so this is where you go ahead to talk about the software. The software to support the PLSM is Smart PLS. So the software itself is called Smart PLS, but the method, the data analysis method, is the PLS. Now the question is, why are you using PLS, not other method? Why are you not using panel regression or t-test or any other method for your analysis? Why are you using PLS? Good. So you must provide justification. You must provide reasons why you are using partial least square structural equation modeling. Now I'm going to give you some of them. One of them is that, one, the partial least square structural equation modeling is good for a data set with a smaller sample size. That's one. If you want to know why, I recommend that you read Hare's book, because some of these things I'm not going to repeat them again. Then it's also good that you read some other papers, like, okay. CB7. So if you check, let me get this article. Get this article. Maybe, I mean, the phrases from Dash, but I think it will be good. The CB-SEM against the PLSM, the differences. Or you can just do a little bit of an online set, that tables that mention between the two. Okay. So one, the CB-SEM, the PLSM, sorry, is good for a smaller sample size. The minimal sample size, as you can see, is good for smaller sample size. Anything above 30 is acceptable. And I hope you know why it's 30. In quantitative research, the general rule is that, especially with surveys and all that, your sample size must be at least 30. If it's a qualitative study, less than 30 is acceptable. But for quantitative studies, at least 30 or more. So the PLSM accommodate 30 or more. Anything between 30 up to 100 and blah, blah, blah is good. Whilst the CB-SEM accommodates more, the sample size must be larger or bigger. So in this case, if you have a smaller sample size, in our case, which we are going to have like 200 or more, it is better we use PLSM. So that's one thing. Another thing is that the PLSM, when it comes to the distribution of the data set, it accommodates a data set which is not normally distributed. And many questionnaire data sets, in many cases, tend to be not normally distributed. The normal distribution tend to be unnormal. So those of you who have been around, I told you that there's something that we call Shapiro test. Okay, Shapiro. I told you that there's something that we call the Shapiro work test, or Komogrove-Smirnov. You can use Komogrove-Smirnov or Shapiro work test to test whether your data set is normally distributed or is not normally distributed. And in many cases, questionnaire data set tend to be not normally distributed. So if your data set is not normally distributed, the best approach for your analysis is a PLSM. And other reasons. So you can state all these reasons over the CB-SEM. Okay. What I'm just trying to say is that within the structural equation modeling, which I've presented to you in the past, we have two types of structural equation modeling. We have the PLSM and then we have the CBSM, which is the covariance base. In our case, we are going to use PLSM. I want us to use PLSM. But when you are presenting your work, which is the methodology part, you need to provide all these reasons against this. In future, we'll look at CB. Yeah, but for them, as far as this class is concerned, let's focus on the PLSM. But provide reasons as to why the PLSM is better. Okay, then you can also present some information relating to what is within the PLSM, what is the content. If I take a PLSM, what and what can I see? Yeah, if you want to get the answers, refer to my previous video. Understand, I mentioned that whether you are conducting a CBSM or PLSM, there are two types of models that we test. One is called the measurement model, and then the other one is called the structural model. Measurement model and then the structural model. Within the measurement model, we try to look at the relationship between the variables, the constructs, and their indicators. Okay, and then with the structural model, we look at, amazing, we presented this. Okay, they presented the results and the thing together. Yeah, so we have this, and let me show you quickly. This is the last part. Our time is up. Our time is up. The time is up. Let me quickly show you this briefly. Then we end. Yeah, so this is the thing. This is the same, and the models are this. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. So we have two types of models that you need to test. You need to test the measurement model and then the structural model. The measurement model and then the structural model. Okay, great. So when we meet next week is probably going to be our last meeting. Next week, I'll just take you through the specific tests on measurement model and the specific test on structural model, and that will be the end of the methodology section. And then the next time that we'll be meeting again will be we will be doing the running the data based on your responses. So when we meet next week, I'll take you through what is a measurement model, what kind of indicators tests are expected on the measurement model, and what kind of indicators or tests is expected on the structural model. What are the threshold and all that? Okay, yeah, so that's it. The time is up. Thank you for coming. Any question, any comment, starting from King? King, please, you can unmute and talk. I think you raise your hand. Oh, King, you're okay. Okay, please, any other person with a comment or question? Any person with question, comment? Everybody's fine. Okay.
Yeah, Doc.
Yes. Thomas, do you have a question?
No, Doc, I don't have question.
Okay, so I think today everything is clear. So please start
Yeah.
putting together your methodology. Okay, start putting together your methodology and start sharing your methodology section with me as well. So thank you for coming and
Hello, Doc.
see you
Sorry.
guys. Yes.
Doc, sorry. I think I went offline. I'm back.
Okay.
We were
Yeah.
talking about the questionnaire distribution, the
Exactly.
online
Yeah.
and the CDI. Okay. See,
Mm-hmm.
in some of the research, you have an inclusion criteria and then an exclusion criteria. So in
Yeah.
situations where you distribute the questionnaire online just for anybody to fill, and the person does not meet your inclusion criteria, I think it will be quite difficult for you to know whether the data you are getting is right or not. I'm asking this because
Mm-hmm.
of what I'm doing. Because of my
Okay.
inclusion criteria, I'm thinking of having research assistants to go to the households to take the data, even though
Yeah.
they will go with they will go with an online software to pick the data personally from the people. I don't know whether it's
Yeah.
advisable.
Uh, yes. So I think you are doing the right thing first and foremost. And to add more to what you have said, what you have to do is that you need to be very as always be intentional. You have to be intentional about what you are doing. And when I say intentional, I'm talking about like you need to know who you are reaching out to. And that's where the inclusion and exclusion thing will come in, as you have rightly said. To get exactly the people that you are going to target, one, you yourself, you can decide to be involved, not only the research assistants, because there are situations where some research assistants they just go and give it to anyone and then they just fail the thing for them to get their pay. So if you really, 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 really want to be, then you have once again the word intentional. You need to be intentional. You have to be you need to you need to monitor the whole thing. You need to monitor the thing very well, because people can just give things to people to just fail just to get their pay. So you need to be involved. You, the researcher, be involved. Yes, you have research assistants. Yes, they'll be going around getting people to fill the thing for you. But you too, you need to get involved. That's my advice to you. Yeah, what you are doing the right thing. Yeah, because if you want to get a certain data set, then you need to target a certain group of people. Like if your research is about drivers, motor vehicle drivers, and then let's say teachers are filling the questionnaire, then you are not getting your responses don't reflect the kind of people that you are targeting. So in this case, once again, you are doing the right thing. You are doing the right part. My advice to you is that get involved and monitor, because people can be something else. I'm not accusing anyone as well. I'm not trying to say that they are bad people or they are doing something bad, but it's just an advice. And this advice is based on my experience, because sometimes people want to get their pay, they want their money, and they can just go and give it to their friends and family members to fill the thing. And also have a way of checking the responses, because sometimes because some of these people want to get their pay, they give it to the same people, and then let's say one person can fill about 10 questionnaire.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's why I'm saying get involved, because you don't know. Nobody say you don't know people. They will just give it to their friends, about 2 or 3 people, and the same people will fail with different pens and with different write-ups. So just get involved, just monitor. Yes, yes, you are doing the right thing, but please monitor. monitor the thing, check. Yeah, check. If you are seeing that some of the responses are the same writing, the same handwriting, all of that, then you need to ask some questions. Mm, you get the right data at the end of the day. Okay, thank you. Any other person? You're welcome. Any other person? If there's no question, no comment, thank you very much for coming. I guess it's around 10 p.m. in Ghana. I think it's a good time for you to go to bed. Thank you for coming. I want you all are doing well. Please, everyone, keep on keeping on. We are getting there. We are getting there. So this is our last but 1 month. Last but 1 month. Because getting to the end of this month and then next month, they are going to be more of like data analysis and conclusion. That's the reason why I brought this approach in, so that we imagine if we are now going to start writing introduction, literature review, and all that, you can imagine how long the whole thing will take. Just think about it. Yeah, that's why I stated that. And sometimes when you talk about it, people don't get it, but I don't know, because personally, that's how I even personally develop my research papers. There's no way I develop research papers within 1 month or even 1 week. Many of the papers that you see me publishing, I have some of them, I've started working on it like 2 years ago, like a year. I write little by little. If you check my folders right now, I have so many folders. I've written small. I'm putting the pieces together. As I get new information, I update. I put the pieces together. That's how you develop because the thing is, you are not going to get time. Especially those of you who are working, you are combining studies with work. Don't deceive yourself that you are going to get enough time, and it's not going to work. You're going to get enough time as you used to be and sit down for maybe hours. Some of you, immediately you take your books and your laptops, you are sleeping because you are from work, you are tired. To come to tell me that, oh, dog, I'll do it. Oh, I'll get time. Maybe I'll use 1 week to do it. You may end up not doing anything. And also, that's also the reasons why, that's the reason why many people also find it difficult to even develop papers. Because many people think that writing a research paper is all about, like, you sit down within 1 week, you develop something, and that's it. But things don't work that way. You have to do the thing little by little. Yeah. So those of you who have been following and you have been doing this thing little by little, if you did the introduction, and you did a literature review, and you did this, by now you are okay. You do a little bit of methodology, you do analysis, your paper is ready. You're ready to publish it. But imagine thinking about sitting down. Let's say you're going to use 1 month. Realistically, is it feasible? The answer is no. Because none of you here, there's nobody here who can tell me you are studying full-time. Even those of you who are full-time, either you are teaching some people or you are doing galamsey here and there. Nobody has time. So the best approach, do research little by little. I've been advising people to do this for a very long time. And I think it's also good that you take this thing from me. You always see me putting papers out there, and people ask me, Doc, how do you do it? Because I'm a very busy person. So how do you publish all these papers? It's almost like every day there's one paper coming out. From every day, like you are publishing one paper almost every day or every week. So how do you do all that? It's all about the approach, the method I have adopted. And that is, I do things little by little. For example, I have a certain book chapter with King. King knows this thing I'm talking about. And that thing, developed it almost like 4 or 5 or 6 months ago. It's still in the pipeline. We did it little by little. And I think the last time I checked, it's now that the editors have put it together and they are going to publish it. You get it? Little by little. small by small. You take a little step every day. Every day is a new day to take a little step. You don't wait for some convenient time, like the time that you are relaxed. Oh, today I have time. I have 1 month. You will never write any paper. I'm telling you for fact. You won't write a paper. So do everything little by little, and always believe in the little things, the little steps that you are taking. You are not behind. You are not competing with anyone. It's a long-term goal, or it's a long-term step or something. Just a little, just go. You are not falling behind. You are not behind. You are not a failure. You have not failed. You are not whatever. Just your little step. Believe in your little step. Every day, every week, little by little, you are moving on. Just that as you are taking little steps, make sure you are doing the right thing. That's all. You are doing the right thing. You are developing yourself. You are doing the best. That's it. And you too, one day, you also be celebrated. That's it. Thank you, and have a good night. Have a great weekend. We meet again next week to go through the measurements and then the structural models. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the
We are grateful.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.